Today we're shaving the firewall on the 442. Stick around. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the garage, and we are shaving the firewall. As I said in the last video, really wanted to get from the firewall forward done, and that includes getting all the holes in the firewall filled. Now, we're doing this a little bit different. We're not going to come in here and body work this whenever it's all said and done. We're going to paint it and probably do insulation. As I said, I think I'm going to put lizard skin on this to insulate the cab. I'll do both sides of it. But I'm not worried about making this thing just buttery smooth because, I mean, let's be honest, that's kind of a show car thing. I like to have a little character in my cars, and so I'm not trying to make this thing 1000% perfect, no blemishes. But I do want to clean up all these holes in here, and you know, by the time we get some texture on here and some paint, this thing will look a lot better and it won't be full of holes. Now, one of the big things to be aware of with this, along with any sheet metal, is this stuff is just hotel paper, toilet paper thin. Like, if you look at it sideways, you're going to blow through it. And a good way to tell that you're about to blow through whenever you're welding on this is you're always about to blow through. So, like, this spot over here really fought me. This was a screw hole, a tiny screw hole that I had to fight. Now, a couple of the tools that I've been using that have been just absolutely necessary in my opinion. One of them is one of these little things right here. I went down to Harbor Freight, and this is actually the more expensive. They sell two. I don't know, Baxter is the brand on this. This thing is worth its weight in gold. This may be my new favorite tool in the garage. I don't know what you would call this, a long reach sander or a narrow spot sander. This thing's great for cleaning up before, after, all that jazz. All my other sanders and stuff like that, I'd say you could get away with not having them. This one though, I would highly suggest if you're doing something like this, go out and get one of these and buy a few of these bands. They seem to wear out fairly quick, and it may be because I bought Harbor Freight ones, and so they just don't have very good glue and grit and all that jazz. Something else that I found has been very helpful is a magnetic adapter or a magnetic thing with a spoon on it, a brass spoon. And for you guys that don't know, this is what you back up on holes that you are not plug filling. Like, so I've got a plug kit that I've been using, but for the holes that are too small that I don't feel like drilling out, I throw this on the backside, and this gives you something to build up. The weld won't stick to this, but it gives you something to build up some weld. That way, whenever you're all said and done, you have some depth there. Whenever you grind down the weld, you can stay away from the sheet metal and just grind down the weld, but the weld should be all the way through the sheet metal and then some because of this. So I picked this up on Amazon, 10 bucks or so, nothing crazy. Last but not least, oh well, I'll say last but not least, I do have a set of just spoons that come with a whole bunch of different attachments. I picked these up off Amazon. As you see, I've used this one. I use this one on stuff where you can get behind easily. It's a little bit easier sometimes, but honestly, for small holes, this thing works magic. Okay, next, sheet metal plug kit. You know, this saves you time. Eastwood sells this. You can get it on Amazon. You don't have to go to Eastwood, but it's got three different sizes, 0.75, 1 inch and 1.38 inches, and then it comes with the step bit. So you just run the step bit out to whatever size that you need it to be, drop it in, and honestly all I've been doing is using a small welding magnet and putting it on the tip, and then I can just put it in place and get a tack on there. You know, just get one tack on there because having a welding magnet whenever you're welding will blow your welds out like nobody's business. But get a tack on there. Here, let's go in a little bit closer. Get a tack on there, then if you need to, you know, grab your hammer from your hammer and dolly kit and just tap it flat, check that smooth. If it's a little bit high on the firewall side, I'm not too worried about it with plugs because I am coming in and grinding them down. Like this spot over here, these were all plugs. This was plugged, these were plugged. These are just weld fills using a spoon. Weld fills, and then plugs. And then I had one spot where the heater box came through. I went ahead and cut out the factory firewall section of it because it had a lip. It's not because it was rusted out or anything. Just had a lip. I didn't want to deal with the lip, so it was just went outside of it, cut it out, and I got a panel contact in there. There's only a couple spots that didn't flush out because the panel has some warp to it. But just make sure whenever you're tacking in new sections that you're doing what you can to get those flushed out with the firewall to keep everything smooth whenever it's all said and done. Just whenever you are grinding stuff down, don't just put your grinder on it or your sander or whatever you're using. Don't just work one spot. Work a lot of spots, just like whenever you're welding. You don't want to heat up portions of your metal. Even though this firewall's already got some waviness in it because of the stamping from the factory and stuff, doesn't mean that we want to add more to it. So treat this like an exterior panel. You know, whenever I come in here and stitch weld these, I'll stitch weld a little bit here, stitch weld a little bit here, stitch weld a little bit here, jump around everywhere. Spread your heat out, because as I said, you're always just the next weld, the next even spot weld, stitch weld that you do is going to be the one that blows through if you're not moving around. And there's nothing more frustrating than burn through on these thin sheets. You know, if you're burning through a lot in a section, there's a good indication that there might be rust on the back side, so maybe you need to stop and check it out. Honestly, that's probably what was going on up here. I probably should have double checked it, drilled it out, and used a plug, but where it was at, I couldn't get the uni-bit through because there is a piece of metal behind it, and so you kind of have to work with what you've got, but it turned out all right. As I said, once we get some coating on here and get this cleaned up, it's going to look great. Nice, clean. Tell me what you guys think. If you've done this before, what are some tips or tricks that you've used in the past? What's your thought about not glazing this with body filler and flattening it out, sanding it flat and smooth, as opposed to just grinding all the welds down, getting this thing fairly smooth, but leaving the imperfections in it? As I said, I think that'll turn out great. We'll see what it looks like once I get primer on it. Maybe once I get primer on it, I'll be like, oh, that was a mistake. I need to go back, fill it. Who knows? Hopefully not, because A, I don't want to do that because it's going to take a lot more time than I want to spend on the firewall of all things. Because you got to remember, you got fenders all the way over to here. This is the only area that you're going to really see up in this area. So, but if you're going to do it, you need to come all the way down, you know, and do it properly. But one other thing, I guess, is holes like this I've gone through and marked. You can probably see some gold paint. Let me pan you over here. These holes I've marked because these are holes that need to stay in here. So I've got holes for mounting the fuse box, holes for the parking brake, holes for the windshield regulator. The rest of them, though, I'm going to go ahead and fill up. I'll probably leave this wire hanger here, even though we will replace this with a new one. I'll leave that hole there. And then if we need to, we can always go back and add a hole. But like all this stuff, we'll go ahead and fill all this jazz up. This one, I don't know what somebody did there. I'm probably going to have to cut some sheet metal out and build a new piece to go in there because they've just got that all boogered up. Oh, you know, typical buying a used car. It's either rust or just crappy, shoddy work, one way or the other. So once we get across here, we will start working on that corner of the firewall where it's already cut out. And then at least from this edge forward, the firewall will be done. There's still plenty to do up top on the windowsill. I'm waiting on that part on the windshield lower frame to come in because it is just rotted out. I'm afraid I may have to buy a complete and total new section of the dash lower. I don't know. Oldsparts.com is just not responding. They don't answer the phone. They haven't given me an update. I ordered parts 2 months ago, not heard a single thing on any of it. So you need to figure out what's going on there. But that's it for now. You guys know the drill. Thanks for stopping by the garage. And remember, ABT, always be tuning. In this case, was it ABSM? AB, always be doing sheet metal, ABDSM. You guys have a good one. Thanks for stopping by the garage.